Coming up on this edition of ATV News.
This is people's worst nightmare of being in a wheelchair.
The fact that he's coming up with excuses just shows he doesn't understand.
They say her car was booted while she was stuck in an apartment. We'll tell you why the parking company is standing by their actions.
91% of people in our state know somebody who has died by suicide or attempted suicide.
We'll tell you about a new online resource for those experiencing thoughts of suicide.
Our pretzels are actually one of our most popular thing that we sell.
We'll tell you the top 3 places in town to get Logan's fastest growing snack.
It's mostly sunny skies here in Utah, but Florida isn't so lucky. We'll be taking a look at Hurricane Ian in the 7-day forecast.
I'll tell you what women's soccer did this week, the second fastest they ever have.
All that and more, this is ATV News. Heavy winds and rain are finding their way to the States as Hurricane Ian made a turn in its path and is headed straight for Florida. Welcome to ATV News. I'm Morgan Perkins.
And I'm Claire Scott. It started as a Category 3 hurricane in Cuba, and as it continues towards the States, Ian is strengthening with the possibility of moving to a Category 5. Governor Ron DeSantis announced that Florida is in a state of emergency.
Property damage and these things, you know, it's terrible that would happen in a storm, but we can fix that and we can help rebuild, but you got to take care of yourself, and we want to make sure everybody is safe.
We will have more information for you coming up in weather.
Troopers have the identity of the 32-year-old male who died in a 6-car pileup last week. Debris littered U.S. Highway 81 and 91, where troopers say an F-150 traveling southbound drifted into oncoming traffic, sideswiping a Chevy Equinox that lost control, leading to more collisions. Troopers say the pickup then continued northbound, hitting 2 other vehicles, including a red Ford Focus. The driver of the Focus died at the scene. Troopers are still investigating why the pickup truck drifted into traffic. They say whatever the reason, the crash is a reminder to always practice safe driving habits.
Wearing your seatbelt, making sure that you're not driving distracted. If you're experiencing fatigue, that you get off the roadway and aren't trying to drive tired.
The driver of the Ford Focus was identified as Brigham City resident Joshua Hansen. Troopers say the other drivers are all expected to make full recoveries.
She lost her legs in a car crash 2 years ago, but Sarah Fry is known for her positive attitude. Sarah Murphy shows us how after a disagreement with parking enforcement, that attitude is being challenged.
So frustrating.
High emotions.
Yeah.
For 19-year-old Sarah Fry.
This is people's worst nightmare of being in a wheelchair, is being treated the way that I was treated.
That just breaks my heart. That's the first time I've heard her say that. And she's such a positive person. It's genuine positivity that comes from her. But I know there's times when the reality of her situation hits her. And I can see how this would have been one of those times.
On September 19th, Sarah was visiting a friend's apartment complex, Millennial Towers, when the fire alarm went off. She was on the 5th floor.
We go to press the elevator button, but the elevators don't work when the fire alarms go off.
Sarah says first responders eventually told them it was a false alarm. She says her next concern was her car next door, parked in a lot that boots at midnight. That night at Millennial Towers, Sarah says the fire alarm went off at 11:40. She says around 5 minutes later at 11:45, they found out it was a false alarm and she called her dad. She told him she was concerned that her car parked next door might get booted because of strict parking schedules. At midnight, parking enforcement showed up, and at 12:02, they put a boot on Sarah's car. Around 2 minutes later, at 12:04, she says her friends showed up and tried to talk to the parking official. They say he did nothing.
The owner called me back. He still said there's nothing they can do. He said, if I show leniency to one person, then I have to show leniency for everybody, or it makes us look weak. And I just said, that is a bunch of hooey.
I was just so frustrated this whole time because I would have gone down to move my car if I could have.
Parking Enforcement LLC turned down an on-camera interview, but owner Dennis Shaw says there are at least a dozen accessible parking spaces in Millennial Tower. She chose not to park in any of those. There were at least 6 accessible places in the property she parked on. She chose not to park in any of those. Had she parked in any of those 18 parking spots, she wouldn't have been booted. Sarah's dad disagreed.
She wasn't able to park in the handicap stalls in this parking lot because they were barricaded due to construction going on. She couldn't park in the handicap stalls in Millennial Towers because you need a permit.
Shaw says the state law for a parking fee is $75, but we gave her a substantial discount. Sarah says the issue is bigger than that.
The money is a big deal, but the way that they treated me is what bothers me the most, and it's like I never want to be treated that way again.
With every bump, the Fry family says they're frustrated. If you weren't in a wheelchair, do you feel like you would have encountered any of this situation?
No. If I wasn't in a wheelchair, none of this would be an issue. If there's a legitimate reason that I physically can't get somewhere, accommodations need to be made.
But learning from the experience.
She said to me after we got done talking about this, well, learned a lesson, live and learn, I think were her words. So she's amazing. She's continues to be such a positive role model in my life and brings me strength every day.
Sarah Murphy, ATV News.
Sarah and her dad say they hope parking enforcement will reevaluate their guidelines and policies in the future.
The bikes you can use for free on campus may be getting a little pricier. Katie Varga joins us live at Aggie Blue Bikes to talk about how their budget cuts could be costing you more money. How's it going, Katie?
It's going great, and I am standing here in Aggie Blue Bike shop with Preston and Nolan, who have been working on these bikes since we got here about an hour or so ago. I talked to their program coordinator about the budget shifts that they've been having and the repercussions that they're looking at.
That's the sound of Aggie Blue Bikes, a USU organization that is bringing in their own revenue after the Student Fee Board cut their budget.
Most of what we do is we teach students how to fix their own bikes. Kind of on the side, we also rent out bikes to students.
Aggie Blue Bikes used to receive an estimated $96,000 from student fees. They no longer receive anything from student fees, but get $39,400 from tuition, and this equals a loss in revenue a little over $56,000. Different plans are being initiated to make up for that loss.
Last year we got $10,000 in addition to our operating budget and our salary budget, and that was just kind of to phase out the student fee program. And then this year we got $5,000, and then from then on out we're not going to get any more money.
As those funds fade out, Aggie Blue Bikes has to find other ways to get the money.
I think we're finally making money, which is nice. We've been selling a ton of locks. That's where most of our bread and butter comes from.
In an initiative to get people onto bikes and out of cars, plans are put in place to increase parking pass fees and put that money towards Aggie Blue Bikes. But Cronin says nothing was ever done about it.
Cronin says another frustration is they can't gain access to their webpage. The information on the page says that they are still receiving student fees, which is inaccurate and can be confusing for students.
To be completely honest, when I'm paying student fees to come to this school, I feel that the money that I'm paying should go where I'm being told it's going.
Aggie Blue Bikes says that for now, their plan is just to keep getting students on campus on their bikes. Aggie Blue Bikes is tucked in between the field house and the Military Sciences Building. Reporting live from Aggie Blue Bikes, I'm Katie Varga, ATV News. Back to the desk with you, Morgan.
Thanks, Katie.
You may know someone who considered taking their life. Live On Utah has created a playbook to teach people how to help those experiencing thoughts of suicide. The Suicide Prevention Playbook is a 10-lesson training course delivered on Instagram. It covers topics such as checking in with struggling loved ones, how to talk about mental health issues, and where to find help. Live On says the program goal is to turn every Utahn into a suicide prevention ambassador.
1 in 10 people are trained to help with physical health issues. So why not mental health issues?
Utah has historically ranked in the top 10 for suicide rates. Faust said that this playbook can reduce stigma surrounding suicide in Utah and help people feel safe seeking guidance for their mental health issues.
There are over 300 homes for sale in Cache Valley, more than double last year. Burl Johansson shows you why sales are slowing down.
Homes like these sold less than a week after builders finished last year. Now, they sit on the market for months.
We have an influx in the amount of homes that are actually on the market, and the number of buyers is at an all-time low.
But what caused the bigger inventory?
The cause is the rises of interest rates, which spooked people, and a lot of folks who had a rental that they maybe thought about getting rid of quickly threw it on the market because they got spooked by the interest rates.
Rising interest rates mean larger house payments, which some people can't afford.
How many people can afford that extra $500 a month payment just because interest rates went up? You know, that's tough.
While homes like these across Cache Valley are sitting on the market, Jackson says there are ways that you can lower the interest rate on your next home.
We would ask for a substantial amount of money and closing costs to pay off like your lender fees and, you know, different like closing cost fees to your title company, and then use that money to buy down your interest rate.
Anderson says he also sees more people working different parts of the deal.
Right now, buyers are negotiating closing costs. There's no longer bidding wars.
Burl Johansson, ATV News.
Anderson and Jackson both say interest rates will reach 10% before they fall.
It's out with the old and in with the new for one local business. JC Caldwell shows us why the owners are angry and how much longer you have to enjoy the place.
A bell and a smile greet customers as they open the door to Eastside Coffee, but it won't be there for much longer. Kelsey? Owners John and Diane McMorris say after the building owners told them their lease would be renewed, they were then told to get their stuff and get out.
There's nothing like this available on the east side. So the idea of replicating another east side became a very quick decision that it wasn't going to happen.
The McMorrises announced the closure in August through their Instagram and with a sign on their door. The sign asked customers to be patient as they may be short-staffed but can't hire and may run out of things but can't stock up.
Eastside Coffee was given just over 2 months' notice to find a new space, which means you have limited time to grab yourself a drink just like this. And although there's no firm end date, they do have to be out by November 1st.
And coffee lovers have a lot to say about the sudden shutdown.
They just have such a great location close to campus, and they're a small business, and so I want to support them, and it kind of makes me mad that they got screwed over.
Employees say they're taking the news one sip at a time.
It's really easy for college students to come up here, and so figuring out that it's not going to be as close and as accessible I think was really hard for everyone.
The McMorrises say they will continue to roast their own coffee, keep up the smiles at their other West Side location, and plan to potentially open a drive-through in Smithfield.
We started out a little bit angry, of course.
Kind of shocked.
We were told in January the lease would be extended. Now we're just, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it, so we're just going to move forward and be glad we got 3 years in a great location.
JC Caldwell.
It was really heartbreaking, I think, for everybody.
ATV News.
The owners say they will announce an official closing day in the next few weeks. And coming up.
In weather, Marcus Lamb will tell us about the hurricane heading straight for Florida. But back home, the current temperature is 68 degrees.
The surplus store. Someone's trash is about to be my treasure.
We have cords and cables here. We have bags full of towels and sheets. Do you want this fold-up mattress? Because we don't.
We got keyboards, paint cans, whatever this is, typewriters, computer monitors.
It's destiny on the line, and we want you at surplus.
Products are not guaranteed to work. All sales are final. This commercial is not endorsed by Utah State.
NFC, AFC, offensive linemen, defensive tackles, quarterbacks, and cornerbacks are all living united to ensure the academic success of millions of kids in our communities all the way to graduation day. But that won't happen without you. So take the pledge at unitedway.org. Make a difference in the life of a child. Suit up like your favorite NFL players and become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor with United Way.
Welcome to ATV Weather. I'm Marcus Lamb. As you may have heard earlier, we are facing Hurricane Ian coming up on Florida. As you can see from the Florida radar right there, Florida is facing a few problems. But let me move to the side right here so you can get a better look at it. Now, right here on the East Coast side, they're facing the worst of it, and it's a really bad location to be at. They have strong storm surges, really bad high-octane weather, and just the winds blowing in every combination, all the swirling happening everywhere. It's a really bad combination to be in. But it's also really funny because Tampa Bay hasn't had a hurricane come in for over 100 years. The last one came in 1921. So I suppose nature likes to be poetic, I suppose. There's also blackouts happening all over the East Coast as well, and we'll keep you updated. And just so you know, the Florida storm is on Category 4. It's going to be reaching Category 5 this Friday. We'll keep you updated, as I said before. Now let's go over to the Utah State radar. Now, as you can see, we're not really having any dramatic over here in Utah. Everything is hunky-dory, I should say. We have a little clouds moving in over in the Provo area, moving upwards. And we got a little storm happening down there at St. George, but it's nothing to worry about. We're all good up here in Cache Valley. And let's go to the 7-day forecast, your favorite part. Now today, we got a high of 84 degrees, and it's getting pretty cloudy. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but we had a morning shower as well. So things are cooling down quite a bit for this whole week. And on Thursday, we have a storm coming up, as well as Saturday. Friday is going to be a little sunny, so they're going to give us a little break. And Sunday is going to get cloudy again, but it looks like on Monday and Tuesday, it's going to be sunny for the rest of the day. And you got the highs and lows here. All right, you all caught up on weather? Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Marcus. Science can be very confusing, so who can help you make sense of it all? Marcus Lamb checked into Science Unwrapped to find out.
When it comes to science, people tend to face a wall of misinformation, and Science Unwrapped is here to help.
The idea, as the title suggests, is to demystify science, and our target is a public audience.
Awesome question.
Science Unwrapped starts out with their guest speaker, Professor Ben Abbott, as he relayed the theme of change to Provo's Utah Lake.
This is a talk that looks at changes in Utah Lake specifically, but more broadly, changes in the environment.
Droughts, so important.
Professor Abbott spoke about changes to keep Utah Lake safe, asking the audience how their lives are affected by it and what they can do to help change things.
We need to be involved, we need to be working together, and I love the Science Unwrapped program because it gives you a chance to learn from and talk with the public and really involves the community into the research process.
Every science-minded individual in this room had plenty of reasons to stay. And lucky enough for the kids behind this door, it's where the fun begins.
I can't get too close to it.
Here in the Eccles Learning Center, different science departments come together to show off to the kids, and hopefully make new mad scientists in the process.
See, I got all the way to here.
Kids are the coolest. Honestly, kids see things in ways that we need to learn from. It's not a one-way thing. Like I'm up here giving knowledge downward. We've got to come together and everyone learn from each other.
Like that, and then slide it to one side.
One thing is for sure, these experiments left a shocking impression. Marcus Lamb, ATV News.
If you're interested in Science Unwrapped, they have another event coming up on October 21st.
USU piano students are refining their skills this week because of an opportunity to learn from one of the greatest pianists of our generation. Russian piano prodigy Sergei Belyovsky has been playing since he was 5 years old, had his first solo recital at 10, and performed with an orchestra at 11. Belyovsky's career brought him to 28 countries to perform, and now has brought him to Utah State to perform and teach.
I think that it's about just they are younger colleagues, they know their own way. I can just suggest and also tell them what I think could be done better, why, and stuff like that.
After his Friday recital, Belyovsky hosted an open masterclass critiquing USU piano students so that they might learn from his expertise. Students performed across from Belyovsky and got insight on how to improve. Beliofsky says Utah has one of the highest piano per home ratios in the country, so he was eager to come teach in a place where piano is so appreciated. And coming up, Utah State alumni are back in town to learn rock climbing, but is that all they can learn?
You don't want what happened to this soccer player to happen to you. Coming up, Paige Johnson will tell you exactly what happened during her game against UNLV.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
They gave me Vicodin after my knee surgery. They kept prescribing it, so I kept taking it. I didn't know it would be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Welcome to ATV Sports, I'm Paige Johnson. This week was packed full of games. Starting us off today, we had the football game against UNLV on Saturday. In the first quarter, Utah State's wide receiver Justin McGriff scores the first touchdown off a throw from Logan Bonner. Throughout the game, Bonner kept throwing interception after interception after interception, with this play being plain disrespectful to Utah State as UNLV's defensive back Noel Williams returned it for almost 50 yards. It's not every day you see this. Utah State successfully blocked a punt, resulting in a safety and making the score 9-21. In the second and fourth quarter, wide receiver Terrell Vaughn had 2 more touchdowns, but Utah State still came up short with a final score of 24-34. Football plays tomorrow night at BYU. USU volleyball also started conference play this week. During the first women's volleyball game on Thursday against Air Force, Tatum Stahl here put on quite the show with 21 kills throughout the game. Shelby Capion was Stahl's partner in crime, coming in at 12 kills. Air Force liked to sneak in some soft touches over the net that took Utah State by surprise. The Falcons were ahead in the first half of the game, but the Aggies made a comeback, taking the victory in the 5th set for a score of 3-2. The women's volleyball team stormed the court to celebrate to the sound of their screaming fans. The women's volleyball team had another game on Saturday against the University of New Mexico. Maybe Utah State was feeling cocky after their last game, but the Lobos came prepared to win. Here we have a great kill by Emily Turner during the second set, which the team needed after losing the first 27-25. New Mexico was evenly matched, with the Aggies scoring almost 0.4 points. In the end, the Aggies lost by a smidge at 32-30. The overall score was 3-0, with victory going to the Lobos. USU plays against Nevada tomorrow night. The USU women's soccer team also continued their conference play. UNLV once again made a return to Utah State, but this time for women's soccer. Sarah Taylor here gains an assist to an incredible header made by Kaylee Chambers. This shot made Aggie history by being the second quickest goal made from the start of a game. Aggies tried to score another goal, but it unfortunately bounced off the post. Going for a second attempt with rolls flipped, Kaylee Chambers sets up the shot for Sarah Taylor, who scores a one-touch goal, making the score 2-0. Here, a Rebel playing defense, Taylor Liddell is just smacked by the ball, straight to the face by USU player Whitney Lopez. She ended up being okay, and the game continued as planned. During the final minutes of the game, UNLV's Mimi Mendoza squeaks in a goal and ending the game with a score of 2-1 for the Aggies. Last Thursday, women's soccer headed to Reno to play against Nevada. During the game, it was close call after close call. Finally, during the 74th minute of the game, Nicole Hadlock breaks through Nevada's defense and scores the only goal of the game, getting that win for Utah State. Men and women's cross-country teams went to Idaho on the 23rd. They both won first in their respective races. The men's team absolutely smoked the competition with a score of 21, while Idaho State came in second with a score of 74. The women's team had a cumulative score of 25, which is half as much as Idaho State scored. Thanks for tuning in to ATV Sports. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Paige. USU students prepared to camp out on the quad the night before the football game against UNLV, an Aggie tradition. They spent the night doing a variety of activities, though for some, the night was spent setting up tents. Students painted signs for the game while the band played for the crowd. They played a few songs and even showed some of their best dance moves. There were enough hot dogs to feed everyone who came, and they even had 800 left over. As the night continued, everyone got together to watch a movie on the Aggie train.
There's a lot to learn about rock climbing. Utah State alumni are learning everything they can about the sport. USU Outdoor Programs lead a group of Utah State graduates up Logan Canyon. These inexperienced climbers learn the basics of climbing not too far from your front door.
It's amazing to have all of these rock climbs outside that are 10, 20, 30 minutes away, just right up the canyon, right in our backyard.
Alumni who signed up for the trip learned safety steps like how to harness up and tie a figure 8 knot. Anneka says they're teaching more than just climbing. She says they value leave no trace principles. This means they keep the trail and crags clean while respecting nature and wildlife so that future visitors will be able to enjoy the walls for years to come. Outdoor Programs' next climbing trip will be October 13th in Moab.
Well, I, for one, could go for something salty right about now. What about you, Morgan?
I think so too. Would you like to have some pretzels?
I love pretzel bites. How did you figure out where to get these?
Well, I went around Logan looking for the best pretzel bites, and this is what I found.
A new treat that is getting popular in Cache Valley is pretzel bites.
And then a cinnamon pretzel.
I asked a few questions in Logan Foodies group on Facebook to see where people get their favorite pretzel bites. Whips had the most comments with over 30. Next was the Pretzel Maker with 16, and the third highest commented place was Ginny's Pit Stop with 8.
We get a pretty big rush every single day, so I would say that most often it's every other car that gets some, and it ranges from every different one that we sell. They're so consistent that every single one tastes the exact same. They're not stale. We make them fresh every day.
Workers say
Parmesan and cheese is our popularest one.
Ginny's Pit Stop is in Nibley next to Little Wonders. Next, Pretzel Maker.
Even with the mall dying down, we seem to keep our business pretty well. You even have your regulars that come in at least once a week.
Let's get the large pretzel pie. Here every time I'm at the mall with my boys. It's just kind of something that we do as a memory.
They're most popular?
Everybody loves a nice sweet cinnamon sugar pretzel.
Really, anywhere you can go, you can get a good pretzel bite. It just depends on if you want to get out of your car or not.
We came up with our So Damn Good slogan. Is just trying to follow that culture and do as much for the community as we can. We just try to give everybody the same experience every time.
Whips has locations in Logan and Smithfield.
Whips has the drive-thru, so that is more convenient for me, especially being a new mom. Then I can just take my baby and get my pretzels.
I cannot wait to go try all those pretzels.
Neither can I. We can't wait we want you to tell us what you think about the pretzels and see if they're the best in Cache Valley. We'll leave a poll on our Facebook page.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of ATV News.
This edition and more will be on our Facebook page. We will leave you with some credits from our night campout on the quad.
Have a great week, Cache Valley.